What's up, guys? This is Kyle from Wax Museum, and as you guys know, we have officially reached the end of the Panini NBA era, and I've kind of had a love-hate relationship with Panini over the years, but I thought it might be appropriate to take a few minutes to look back from 2009 all the way up to 2025, and my goal is to keep this video between 5 and 10 minutes. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to land that, but in the process, I'll probably overgeneralize a lot of stuff. I'm going to leave some stuff out. I might leave one of your favorite sets out. I'm sorry about that. I'm not going to mention every product and every set and every rookie from over that years. It's just a lot of stuff. But, it's wild to think it's been 16 seasons now. So whether you loved what Panini did or you were ready for Fanatics to take over, there's no question that Panini has reshaped the world of modern basketball cards. So I've got a stack of things here that I think will help me give an overview of that era. So let's go ahead and jump right into the first season that Panini had with the NBA license, which was 2009-2010. And, a lot of their early releases, like they had Panini Basketball, which was kind of like their flagship set early on. But then you had some stuff that had carried over from football, like Certified, Absolute Memorabilia, Timeless Treasures, obviously National Treasures. A lot of that stuff leaned into their football knowledge and their experience in the football world, which, I can't blame them for that because that's really all they had. So, like, here's an absolute patch from 2009, and that's something that they did really well in football. They did these jumbo patches, jumbo game-worn patches. So, it's very simple design, but I thought it worked well, and I do really like this card. I mentioned the RPA. I mentioned National Treasures, not specifically the RPAs, but here is one of the RPAs, and I would say that they were helped out by the fact that it was a really stacked rookie class. And looking back, the names we go to are Steph Curry and James Harden and Blake Griffin even. He was big at the time, even though he was hurt that year. And yeah, those guys, people were definitely chasing those cards at the time, but I don't want you to forget names like Tyreek Evans and Brandon Jennings even. Those were guys that people were chasing after as well. So this is one of the few things that really stuck with the Panini era from day one all the way to the end, is people really latched onto these National Treasures RPAs. So I thought I would definitely want to represent that. So I've got Tyler Hansbrough here to help do that. Another thing that Panini did really well at the start that I think was a good move all along was signing Kobe Bryant as a spokesman and as like a brand ambassador. And I know people kind of complained later on that he signed too much. In retrospect, I'm glad that he signed so much, but they were able to, because of that relationship, make stuff like this. And this was from a few years later on, but this is a promotional card that has a piece of a game-worn sneaker in it, and on the back of that sneaker, on the back of the card, is a picture of the sneakers, and it's game dated, so I thought that was pretty cool. And that was really a result of the relationship that they forged with Kobe. They had a very good relationship with him over time. So a lot of good stuff came from that, but I wanted to show you that as well. So moving on, the next season, you could feel that Panini was slowly starting to figure things out. We got products like Gold Standard and Donruss. So here's 2010 Donruss is one of my favorite Panini products of all time still. It was just a beautiful set. Now this is a rookie, but the veteran cards had game photos. It's glossy card stock. It just felt like wasn't a super expensive set, but it just felt like a real classy set. Donruss from there on out really went downhill in my opinion, but that I was very happy to have at the start, and it was very different than the Panini flagship. Whereas later on, Hoops and Donruss got real repetitive. It's very different from that flagship. So I really appreciated that. So 2010, they were kind of finding their own, but there was a cloud hanging over everything, and that was the NBA lockout. So when the lockout hit, that really threw a wrench in everything because they had to make do without a normal rookie class, and they pivoted to more veteran-heavy sets like past and present. I don't have any of that to show you right now, but they really had to lean into that stuff. There were only 5 major products that year, and a lot of people, they give this narrative of Panini having to find their footing in the early years, and I've said that many times myself, but I think you also have to consider that there were some things working against them, like that NBA lockout. That was out of their control, and that really limited what they could do in that time frame. So it kind of stunted their growth early on. But man, did they more than make up for that in 2012, 2013. They came out swinging. They had the double rookie class. So basically, all the rookies that they weren't able to use or weren't able to use much of the year before, they had those, and then they had the 2012, 2013 rookies as well. So they really hit the ground running at that point, and we got stuff like Prizm and Select and Immaculate, and the modern Panini identity really took shape here. So like, I got to show you my 2012 Danny Granger Prizm Gold. Those became obviously a really big deal. In fact, what you see here, this was on top of the Panini Hobby box, the Prizm Hobby box. I ripped one hobby box for $60. People weren't really crazy about it at the time. I wasn't crazy about it. That was the only one that I ripped. It's like, all right, it'll probably replace Topps Chrome, but I wasn't just like goo goo gaga over it. But I'm glad I kept that. I don't really know why I did at the time. I guess I keep everything anyway. But Prizm became a much bigger deal later on, but it wasn't the beast that it became until long after. In fact, there were just very few parallels there at the start. I mentioned Immaculate. Here's a Larry Bird from 2012 Immaculate. It was a set called Immaculate Marks where they had signed pieces. There was just a lot of really cool jumbo stuff in here. They were very intentional about it. Just a lot of really great stuff. And they were pumping out so much new stuff that I think a lot of us just kind of took some of that stuff for granted, like Innovation. I didn't open any Innovation. I was opening all sorts of 2012 stuff. This stuff was coming out so quick, you just couldn't think much about it. You just ripped it and enjoyed it. And now I'm looking back, I'm like, man, I really loved Innovation. So they carried a lot of that momentum into 2013. So here's a 2012 stained glass from Innovation of Paul George. Here's a 2013. 2013, unfortunately, was, here's some Pinnacle cards from 2013. It was really hurt by a horrible, I can't emphasize it enough, horrible rookie class. I mean, just we're talking like Anthony Bennett, Victor Oladipo, Michael Carter-Williams. People are going to say, well, yeah, there was Giannis, though. And yeah, some people were chasing Giannis, but Giannis wasn't really much of a thing at that point. It was just a horrible rookie class, and unfortunately, that affected a lot of the products. They just couldn't move products, so they had to get kind of creative about how they did things, and especially like in 2014, that I would say the product tiers were kind of starting to develop. There was a little more rookie hype. This guy named Andrew Wiggins was a really big deal at the time. In fact, they put Andrew Wiggins cards in baseball products to try to help sell them. So anyway, they were starting to get tiers in their products, and there were some retail exclusive products. There were 3 of them: Threads and Excalibur, and I think Prestige was the 3rd one. So these things were starting to take form here, and I felt like it was a good mix, though. Even the low end stuff, it didn't feel cheap. Like it was fun to rip. It looked good. They were really finding their groove around 2014. Here's a gold standard dual patch from 2014. This is just good looking stuff. So they introduced other stuff like Lux and Noir. They're always trying new products, sprinkling those in. And then things just continued on with 2015. I've got a Prizm card here. This is Jokic, obviously. He was another one. He's like Giannis. He really wasn't a big deal at the time. People were chasing Porzingis. They were chasing Cat. They were chasing Booker. But silvers did start to become a bigger deal in 2015. Maybe they weren't quite there yet. I'll talk about it here in a moment. There were some other things later on that helped spur that on. But the silvers were starting to pick up a little bit of steam. And so were some of the other things, like National Treasures still had some momentum. So Panini was rocking and rolling here, and I think they were doing a great job. Then, in 2016, they hit a little bit of a roadblock because Ben Simmons. There was a lot of hype about Ben Simmons. Well, he signed an exclusive with Upper Deck, an autograph exclusive. So they could not put autograph cards of his out there, which meant, RPAs were becoming a big deal. They couldn't use those. How are they going to market all of these products? So even though that was a pretty good rookie class overall, that definitely made them have to think about, what was their approach moving forward, and what if that happened again? What were they going to do about it? So Optic made its debut, which I don't know, how long that was in the plans, but Optic was a pretty big deal. And, by 2017, 2018, Optic, I would say, was already catching on. I thought it was a pretty good product. Case hits were starting to become a bigger deal. The parallels were definitely increasing in all these sets, and some of the parallels were catching on. Like, I don't know exactly when Galactics really caught on, but here's a Galactic from 2017. That's the stuff that people were starting to pay attention to. It's also around the same time that I think Panini got a little too comfortable. And that's unfortunate because I think it was reflected in some of their products. Like, I really liked Court Kings. It was a great low-end product, but it was a hobby product. And then it moved to retail. And then they added a bunch of sticker autos to it. And things just started getting slowly diminished over time. So we did have a big boom, though, in 2018 with at least a rookie class. Not necessarily a big boom in prices just yet. Not like we would see later on. I mean, I was still at card shows. I remember buying a Luka Prizm rookie for $10 and selling it for $15 and just being elated by that. It's just a different era. But the RPAs, once again, I'd say that they were really starting or continuing to take off at this time and really establishing themselves. Here's another Luka rookie I threw in here. This was when Threads changed the die cuts into an entire card. I didn't really like that, but 2018 Threads was still a great product. 2018 retail was really the last year where you could rip, and it was super cheap, and it was a lot of fun. But a lot of the value was still in hobby, and that changed with the whole base card boom and the Zion hype and grading. And I'm really going to skim over this next handful of years. A lot of you lived through that. I don't feel like I have to narrate all of that, but things just got crazy. Obviously, there was the Zion hype. January 2020, Kobe Bryant passed away. There was a pandemic. There was the stimulus money. Grading blew up. And from then on, really, Panini was also cutting corners because of the pandemic. They started using non-associated relics, and there were massive delays, and there were endless parallels, and things just weren't looking great. In fact, I was calling for, hey, I wish that we could end this exclusive. Now, I didn't imagine, though, that in August of 2021, we would find out that Fanatics was going to take over the license. So that was a pretty big deal as well. I feel like collector confidence was really slipping, and everyone kind of knew Fanatics was on the horizon. But, we still had our Anthony Edwards, like 2020 stuff printed to the moon. Select went retail. Select really fell off. Just some trends, unfortunately. We had the Wembanyama craze. It was just a lot of the same cookie cutter type stuff. And then we had this final stretch, 2024-25. And I don't know if I've said it enough here. I do want to give Panini their credit. I feel like they ended surprisingly strong. And not just because I really like Silhouette. I think the product lineup, the whole season was really strong. I wish they had been able to space things out a little bit more because I thought things were more intentional. I thought they did a pretty good job, all things considered. And I don't know why. Did they feel like they owed it to us? Are they trying to pitch the license for somebody else? I really don't know why. But anyway, I do want to give kudos to Panini for that. So yeah, that's the Panini era. I know I kind of rushed through the end here, but here I'm at 13 and a half minutes. I know I left a lot of stuff out, but that was 16 seasons that gave us Prizm, National Treasures, Flawless, and a bunch of great innovations. But at the same time, we got a lot of sticker autos, we had redemption headaches, and way too many parallels. So it's a complicated legacy, a mix of brilliance and burnout, you could say. But either way, this era mattered. It shaped how we all collect today. And it will obviously shape what we're looking at moving forward. So if you have some things that you want to say about the Panini era, feel free to put those in the comments. I would really appreciate that. Remember, there are new episodes of the audio podcast that come out every Thursday. And as always, thanks for watching.